Welcome to Mach 10 Sports. This October 9th, 2023 episode. As you can see, in the Braves attire, not looking good right now. Not looking good right now for the Bravos. Maybe when I get off this show, I'll have some better news. But right now, Braves down 4, I believe in the 6th. It's not looking pretty. Not looking pretty for the Bravos. But hey, you aren't here to listen to how bad the Braves are playing in the divisional round. You aren't here to listen to that. You are here to hear about how driver's seat Saturday just passed us by, and also passing by Georgia, Alabama both have the sunroofs down, shades on, blasting their favorite tunes. They both are the leaders heading into mid-October in their respective divisions. Georgia in the SEC East, Alabama in the SEC West. Now, does that mean there's a guarantee that they're going to win at this point? No, absolutely not. Now, if I'm a Georgia fan, yeah, I'm probably booking my hotel in the downtown Omni. I feel pretty confident Georgia's going to make the SEC championship game as we stand right now. Alabama, I'm confident. They're in the driver's seat. That's why we named Week 6 driver's seat Saturday. But a little bit more cautious. I think it's going to come down to that Alabama-LSU game. Don't put A&M away yet. We'll get into that. They got a big road trip to Knoxville, Neyland Stadium. Both teams need that to stay in their respective division races. You lose that game, Tennessee, you're out. You get to hope Georgia probably loses another game outside of losing to you in Neyland Stadium. Probably not going to happen. A&M, yeah, you'd probably be out at that point as well if you lost at A&M. Maybe 2 conference losses. You need in Bama to lose 3 times. I don't see that. Maybe twice. Don't even really feel that. 3 times would be a major stretch. But feel a lot better about Georgia. Alabama's in a good spot as well. We'll also get into this. You've probably seen it around college football all over the place. How is clock management and just football IQ, just awareness, it's just a lost art now. It's bad across the board between the players, coaches, just staff members. It's bad across the board. We'll get into that right off the bat. But you see issues every weekend. We saw it in Miami. We'll talk about that. Mario Cristobal. Saw it down in Columbia, Missouri with Eli Drinkowitz late in the game. You also saw it with Alabama trying to run out of clock. I just don't know if kids aren't watching as much football as it used to be when we were kids. There's just more to do now, so I don't think they're just locked into, hey, we got some action, or we got a big Thursday night game in college football. That used to be when I was in middle school, high school, and college. Big games on Thursday night. There's just more stuff to do. You're more addicted to this. We're all guilty of it, but especially the college kids. Obviously, you know what day it is. It's Monday, so I'm going to bring you the Week 7 power rankings. Yeah, a little bit of shake-up. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then, woo! It was bad. It was bad, guys. Money-making weekend. The gambling picks, the 7, not good. Not good. 1-6 weekend. We're back below 50%. That's unacceptable. I have to be better. I don't want to go through it, but I'm a man of my word. When we lose, we admit we admit we're wrong here on Mach 10 Sports. So we'll run through all 6 of my losses, my 1 win. Thank you, Ohio State. We'll get to that. But first, around the SEC, you know what it is. It's Monday. They've officially announced the Week 8 TV schedule. Let's share it. Let's see how it's going. All right, the Week 8 SEC schedule. This is for 2 weeks, not this week, but next week. You got the Mississippi State heading to Arkansas will be the 11 a.m. Central Standard Time ESPN kickoff. You got Tennessee at Alabama the 3rd Saturday in October, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone CBS matchup. Was last year. It's been a night game for a little bit, but I think now that rivalry's back, traditionally an SEC CBS game, here it is. South Carolina at Missouri, big SEC East matchup. The afternoon SEC Network game at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone. Ole Miss at Auburn, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone on ESPN. Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze. It'll be a big game. It's one both really need. And then Army, SEC Saturday night, heading to Baton Rouge. Army at LSU, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone. Again, who scheduled that game for LSU? I've been talking about that all off season. But it's a weird schedule there. It's the Week 8 TV schedule. Rolling back before we get into some of our action, the SEC standings. SEC standings as we head into Week 7. Georgia rolling in 3-0, 6-0, atop the SEC East in the driver's seat after a big game against Kentucky. Speaking of Kentucky, coming in at 2-1, 5-1 overall. Tied with Florida, but they have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Florida coming in 2-1, 4-2 overall. Missouri sitting at 1-1 after dropping their first game and conference game to LSU this past weekend, but 5-1 overall. Tennessee 1-1, 4-1. Remember, they got a big one against A&M at home this week. South Carolina 1-2, 2-3. Got a big one against Florida at home this week for them to get it to 500 in conference. Then Vandy just have not won a game since that week 1 matchup against Alabama A&M. They're 0-3, 2-5. Moving to the SEC West again, Alabama in the driver's seat, unscathed through conference play, sitting at 3-0, 5-1 overall. LSU coming in at 3-1, 4-2 overall, tied with Ole Miss. They got half a game lead, but Ole Miss would hold the tiebreaker if all things stood. But Ole Miss sitting at 2-1, 5-1 overall. Texas A&M 2-1, 4-2 overall, dropping their first one Alabama this past weekend. Then we got some winless teams in the West. So starting with Auburn at 0-2, 3-2 overall. Arkansas 0-3, 2-4 overall, and Mississippi State 0-3, 3-3 overall. Moving on, let's get right into it, guys. I told you we would talk about some coaching blunders. I told you we'd talk about that. And it's becoming an epidemic, I would say, across college football. These guys are making big time money. And again, I've been in these buildings, worked in college football for 10 years, in staff meetings all the time. I'm not going to talk about it. You can go look at who I've worked for, and you could probably, just by process of elimination, know who I'm talking about here. But this is just the way some of these guys just lack game management, situational awareness. I mean, you go to a lot of practices across college football right now. There's not a lot of development or teaching. It's just, we're going to run plays, guys. We'll get that right. Next guy in line. We're running glorified walkthroughs. But there's 3 situations here, and we're going to go first. I want to talk about the Mario Cristobal coaching blunder, which there's no excuse for this. They had the game won. They had the game won in Miami. And I know we're an SEC podcast. But I have to bring this up. And then speaking of the SEC, we'll talk Jalen Milroe, his clock management at the end of the Texas A&M game. Then what Eli Drinkowitz doing, going for it on 4th and 32 to end the game. But Mario Cristobal, let's get right to it. Let me share the screen with you. I'll show the exact play. Here it is. Game's over. Game's over for you people. I hope you can see that. Please let me know in the chat if you can. Situation 20-17. As you can tell, 35 seconds left. It's 3rd and 10. You kneel the ball here, it's over. You get in victory formation, it's over. I know Shannon Dawson today, their OC, took some blame. This is on Mario Cristobal. Saying this is the second time it's happened to him. It happened to him at Oregon in 2018 against Stanford when they were trying to run out the clock. And his issue is he tells us, we just played with the final whistle. Well, that's just asinine. I know a lot of people aren't going to come out, and I don't even like to say it's attacking coaches. I'm just going to call you out. Like this is troubling. You pay this guy about $9-10 million a year. I have to go look up his exact size. It's something in that range. For this crap, this is embarrassing. Let's play it here. You run the football here. Just put here. And Georgia Tech rips it out. Fumble. All you had to do was get under center, take a snap, kneel, ball game over. But instead, let me show you this. Haynes King, you remember him. They start driving downfield, making plays. 15 seconds left. Skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, 9 seconds. They hit Alabama transfer Christian Leary here. Remember, these are 2 SEC transfers here, so we're tying it. Haynes King, former quarterback at A&M. Christian Leary, former receiver at Alabama, with 1 second left. If you just kneel the football, the game's over. Let me go back and show you. Let me go back and show you where you messed this up, Mario. Here we are. Again, it doesn't take a genius to understand this. 35 seconds. There's 40 on a play clock, guys. You kneel the ball, it's over. The only thing that could happen is what happened. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I mean, even his players on the sideline, Matt Lee, the center, who I was out with at UCF, he could read his lips. The long dreaded, the white guy, the center, Matt Lee. In case you've seen it, probably watching SportsCenter, is like, "What are we doing?" He mouthed it. What were you doing, Mario? This is embarrassing, dude. That was an embarrassing display of coaching. Now, I'm not on the train of firing him just over one play, but man, you may have blew your shot. I know it's only 1 conference loss, but it's Georgia Tech, man. Georgia Tech just got beat bad by Bowling Green the week before. I mean, dude, You could have blown your chance to go to Charlotte and play Florida State, let's say, in the ACC championship game. You're going to look back. That's going to cost them. That's coaching, man. That's attention to detail. That's embarrassing. That's just what it is. That's embarrassing. You make that much money. Mario Cristobal can recruit. Let's call it what it is. But if you've been around the guy's not really aware. He struggles in-game coaching decisions. You've seen it going back all the way to Oregon. It's not just the time he blew it against Stanford. That's bad. That's failing your team. Let's go to the next one. It's kind of failing. This goes on the players here, this next one. I'm talking about the Alabama-Texas A&M game. Alabama converts the third down here. They convert the third down here to Jace McClellan. Should end the game here. But Bama rushes to the line of scrimmage. Oh, sorry. Let me rewind that for you. It's my fault. So let me show you. Let me go back and show you the play that happened. So it's third down. This is it. And this is where I think from talking to somebody, this is where they thought. They thought his knee was down. I don't think Jace McClellan really knew either because he's in the action. But remember, he never had possession. His knee's up. That's a first down. That's a first down. They're rushing to the line of scrimmage because I think they don't want it to get reviewed. No one's covering Malik Benson over here, if you can see that. So I think Alabama thought they could sneak it in, hurry up. And then he throws a one-hopper that I don't even know Matt Olson could have picked. But again, that's on the kid. That's on Jalen Milroe. That's also on somebody in that booth. I've worked in it, guys. I know they're up in the box. So they have monitors. They're watching the game too. Someone has to be like, guys, we're good. We're good. He never had possession when his knee was down. His knee came up. Then he had possession. We're good. Let's kneel. Even today, Jalen Milroe didn't get it right. I heard him. He's like, yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to stop thinking about that one play. I should have just handed it off. No, you shouldn't have just handed it off. We just saw what happens when you hand it off. They can rip it from you. You get under center and kneel it. That's what you do. Like, I don't know sometimes. Like, a lot of these kids, I heard it on McElroy and Cubic today in Birmingham. I don't think a lot of kids watch as much football anymore. It's just something they're good at. Like, there's not as much instinctual awareness in the game. Like, hey, I'm telling you, I'm not even tooting my own horn here. I guarantee you we'd be under center if I'm the quarterback here or if I'm a coach here. Someone's got to be in that box, that booth. Someone on the sideline's got to be, guys, we're good. His knee was up. It's over. Let's get under center. It's over. Victory formation. Victory formation is what they call it. Let's get it in. It's over, boys. We don't need to be slinging around, certainly. And then Jalen Milroe's answer today didn't make me feel great. He said, yeah, I should have just handed it off to Jace. No, you shouldn't have just handed it off. You should have been under center and taken a knee. That's what should have happened, guys. Like, that can't happen. That's just lack of awareness. And then finally, the last one. The last one I wanted to show you. My guy, Eli Drinkowitz. And I know some people probably think I pick on old Eli a little bit, but I really don't. I just wanted to bring this up. Here it is. Into the game here. All right, so here's the situation here. They're down 3, 1:52 left, 3rd and 6. Now, this gets set up on 3rd and 6.
Cook.
Started over again. Because of this sack, strip fumble here. This is why it gets back. Yeah, see. So anyways, Missouri ends up covering it. So it sets up a long 140. I think he ends up going like 140 maybe. Yeah, all right. So 115. So 4th and 32. 4th and 32. You can't see it right there where it says 4th and 10. But they have 3 timeouts, Missouri does. Missouri has 3 timeouts. Why are you going for this on 4th and 32? Why are you not punting? Why are you not punting here? And they just do a lateral play, toss it to Theo Weiss, and he just thinks he can slip everybody and pick up the 32 yards. I mean, granted, he got about 30 of it. But you got to punt there, man. You got 3 timeouts. I know you don't feel like you can maybe stop LSU, but that's your only hope. 4th and 32, the percentage of that? What do we do? I don't care what the book says. Use some common sense. Use the common sense book. This is just bad in-game coaching management at the end. Punt the ball. If you have 2 timeouts, I may agree with you because it is what it is. That extra timeout to give you 3rd makes a major difference. Punt that, play field position. They're just going to run the ball. You got to keep an eye on Jaden Daniels, obviously, but he's hurt. So they're probably just going to run it. And you got 3 timeouts, you get the ball back. I mean, they got the ball back and had a chance to do a pick 6. Man, you were just so far back. Could have had some better field position. But I just thought that was another coaching blunder in week 7. Just didn't really understand that. Obviously, the Mario Cristobal one's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. I heard him say you had to hold on. We teach 2 hands holding the ball. No, you kneel the ball, Mario. That's what you do. Mario Cristobal, great recruiter, maybe the one of the most overrated game day coaches there are out there. Again, I see people calling for his job. He doesn't need his job. Let's let the season go through. Let's they may still play for the ACC championship game, but it would be so on brand for Miami to not get into the ACC championship game because of one game in this one. I think you got Jalen Milroe trying to run out the clock as they picked up the game-winning first down against Texas A&M after the Jace McClellan pickup. A little bit more understandable, but still, that's someone up in the box, someone on the sideline, Jalen himself, someone in there like, hey, guys, we're good. We're good. They're not reviewing this. His knee was not on the ground. I can understand the kids on the field not understand it because they can't see it a lot. But I'm sure Jace McClellan was coming back, man, guys, we're good. I mean, I saw him saying, let's hurry up. But someone in that box has to be looking at that being like, yeah, we're good. We're good. You don't go throw the ball. Then finally, Eli Drinkwitz, you got 3 timeouts, man. 4th and 35, you punt. You punt, man, with 3 timeouts. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. I'm a full-time consultant, and if anyone needs the game day operations here, I'm here. I can do it for you. But moving on here, guys, just want to talk a little bit about that real quick before we get into Week 6 betting reviews here. I'm going to go over real quick just so we can get it out of the way. All right, here's the Week 6 bets. We're going to go through it. We're going to own up to our losses here. Southern Miss, -1.5. Do not know why I trusted this. Old Dominion won this one straight up. Didn't feel good about that one. Ohio State, -19. They covered by 20. We had our one win was close, and we had a lot of close losses. Ohio State covered for us. Florida State, -12.5 in the first half. They were up 12 at half. Who was it? Virginia Tech got a last-second touchdown in the first half to make it a 12-point game. So lost that by half a point. Texas, Oklahoma, barely lost that one, under 60. Lost that one. LSU, I don't know why I took this one. I was just overthinking it here. They cleared that one easily. I think they scored 88 points, but under 64.5. Georgia, Kentucky, thought under 49. Georgia covered that by themselves. Georgia had an outstanding offensive output. Then Kansas State, Oklahoma State, under 48 on Friday. Didn't hit the under on that either. They both lost that game. So, from that standpoint, I don't know what happened. But rough week. We're going to have to get better this week. Worst one since week 2. Unacceptable week. But I told you going into the week, I didn't pick as many. Like, I usually pick 12 to 14 games. I only picked 7. I told you I didn't really like last week. That's no excuse. We should have gone 7-0. I promise you we will be better this week. But there we are, 1-6. We're back to 47% on the season, under 50. We want to get to 60 by the end of the year. We got to make a run. We're going to be better here in week 7. But I just wanted to address it because we don't run and hide from our mistakes. We address them. Again, going 1-6. Thank goodness for the half-point win from the Ohio State Buckeyes against Maryland. But getting right into the action here. Week 6 review. Alabama gets the 26-20 win over Texas A&M. Give Alabama credit. They found an incredible matchup between Jermaine Burton versus Texas A&M DB Josh DeBerry. As a mismatch. And this is what I want to say, too, a little about coaching. Sometimes these coaches get so stuck in their ways. They get so stuck in their ways within their system. They don't look at the matchups that a lot of these personnel departments do advanced scouting for, and they can pick, hey, we got a big matchup advantage over here with Jermaine Burton over the Boston College transfer Josh DeBerry. We need to take advantage. Bama did. A lot of coaches wouldn't. But also, if you told me Bama only ran for 23 yards, lost the turnover margin, and had 14 penalties, I'd have bet they lost as well. I bet they would have lost as well. I picked them to lose. I picked them to lose 24-20. They obviously got the 26-20 win. Jalen Milroe, career day, 21 for 33, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception, had negative 31 yards rushing, if you count his sacks. I mean, A&M's defense collected 6 sacks, but the offensive line was probably a little better than the stats would say. They won some more one-on-one battles. Right guard Jaden Roberts, who had to play some because Darren Dalcourt was there, did a fantastic job, the Houston native. I was a little hard on him a couple weeks ago. 2 years in the program, looks like he's kind of stepping up. But Bama, defensively, played as good as you could hope for in today's game defensively. They did. They showed up with a big chip on their shoulder and dominated most of the second half. Deontay Lawson, inside linebacker, the best they've had in a while, was playing like a man possessed. Chris Braswell probably played his best game in crimson, or I should say in white, with the crimson helmet on Saturday. Played his best game at Alabama. And you also had guys like on the interior, Tim Keenan, Justin Igboigwe, Jaheim Otis, Tim Smith playing really well up front. Terrion Arnold continues to play well. A guy A&M tried to pick on a lot last year. He had the big pass breakup on the 2-point conversion in Tuscaloosa to win the game last year. Massive third down breakup in the fourth quarter. Initially got beat by Naismith, but didn't panic, made a play on the football. That was probably a big play it decided the outcome of the game. Malachi Moore, their leader in the back end of the defense, went down in the first half. Looks like he rolled an ankle. And the defense got the job done. Second time this year they've lost a leader at the second level and on defense, and Deontay Lawson played well in the second half against Ole Miss. Lost a leader in the back end, Malachi Moore in the first half against Texas A&M. Not a big drop-off. Now, there was a little drop-off in some busts that A&M didn't take advantage of, but for the most part, with in-game adjustments, one of your leaders being out for the game, you really couldn't ask for much more. Really couldn't. I thought the turning point in this game, and I was telling people this today, the Caleb Downs interception early in the third quarter. Jalen Milroe just threw the interception to Bryce Anderson on that third down play. 2 plays later, Caleb Downs sniffs out a check down to Jake Johnson, steps right in front of Max Johnson, intercepts it. Bama had the momentum after that. That was the game right there, in my opinion. If I'm being honest, though, A&M, Jimbo Fisher, Bobby Petrino's offensive game plan, a little underwhelming. Played a little scared. Why didn't Anaya Smith touch the ball more? No rushing attempts. If I'm A&M, I'm trying to get that Alabama defense to go a little bit more east and west. That's going to open up some stuff north and south in the tackles. Between the tackles. They never did that. Just the most uncreative game they had. But that's going to be the best defense they played. Just a little bit of combination of both. But why wouldn't Anaya Smith, why wouldn't you get him in motion, at least just to make Alabama respect the horizontal run game? I just didn't understand that. Some questionable calls at the end. Overall, by the officials. Thought the blindside block on Dallas Turner, yeah, it probably was, but man, it's a little soft there. But again, it's like Deontay Lawson getting on Dallas Turner. That just can't happen. You just can't put yourself in that position. You see a lot of offensive linemen getting called for more holes that are a little bit of a stretch that they're getting, but they're getting called now. So it is what it is. He shouldn't have done it. Would I have called it? No, but it is what it is. This one, though, if you're an A&M fan, man, this doesn't settle well. Season's not over. You got a big game in Neyland this week in Knoxville. You got to have it against Tennessee. But it was a very gettable Alabama team in your house. Some would say you may have just as much talent as they do from top to bottom. I mean, this is Jimbo Fisher's year 6. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, year 6. You've accumulated multiple top 5 classes. This was the year they could have had them. The 12th man did their part out. Hell, Alabama had 14 penalties, 9 false starts. You couldn't ask for a better situation. Fuck, A&M let one slip away, man. You can make an argument Alabama could have won by more, though. I mean, they didn't even play a clean game and still won. That's just one if you're an A&M fan, you're on that staff after talking to some of those guys in the past 24 hours. You can tell it doesn't sit with them well. Now they got to put up their big boy pants and go to practice today and tomorrow. Hey, we got a big one in Knoxville. We let that one get away. We're officially out of the SEC West race. We have 3 losses. There'll probably be more to come. Some guys start checking out, start looking out for number 1. That's what it'll be. It's for the bye week. Just doesn't sit well. But Bama gets Arkansas this next week at 11 a.m. We'll talk a little bit about that one. Briefly preview that one tonight. Really preview it on Thursday. I told you. A&M heads to Knoxville this week. We'll see how that goes. But Bama getting a massive 26-20 win in the driver's seat in the SEC West in the middle of October. Speaking of the SEC West, the one trailing them right now, LSU gets the 49-39 win over Mizzou. Very competitive football game. How about Jaden Daniels, man? Heisman leader right now. Has to be. People are going to be, no, they got 2 losses. The only reason Jaden Daniels is not the front runner in the Heisman race right now is because of his defense. It's the only thing it is. I mean, how do you defend this LSU offense right now? How do you defend this LSU offense, especially with how Logan Diggs is running right now? And the offensive line getting pushed up front. Maybe we'll find out in 3 weeks. I mean, Auburn's got a solid defense. They're coming to town this week. Can they test LSU? Hugh Freeze said it today in his press conference. We're just hold them to field goals. No one's been able to do that yet. Well, Hugh, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of slot fade coming, buddy. A lot of slot fade coming. Missouri, great offensively. I mean, Brady Cook threw his first 2 interceptions of the season this past week, but wasn't bad, man. I'll give a lot. Eli Drinkwitz this. I was hard on him early in the show, but he does get his playmakers the ball. I mean, right off the bat, Luther Burden got loose for 11 receptions, 149 yards. They were feeding him early and often. But again, Drake, he does do a good job getting his best players the football. For LSU, call me crazy here. The 3 to 4 things that really stood out for me, key plays in this game, was the Damian Ramos 49-yard field goal attempt to make it 22-10. You may be, Dave, why is that a big deal? Well, let me get some water in here. One sec. Why is that a big deal, you may ask? Because they just converted a 4th and 1 and got a holding call back. Could have been a backbreaker. Brian Kelly decides, you know what? It's 4th and 6. About on our 33. Let's just kick it. Let's get some points on the board. Because at the time, it was 22-7. If he misses that 49-yard field goal, now, you are smart people. I don't have to tell you, 49 is a pretty long field goal for a college kicker. It is a long field goal. Drills it. 22-10, you got some positive momentum off that. If you would have got the 4th and 1 like they did, got the holding call, backed it up, you miss it, still 22-7. Missouri's getting the rock, decent field position. That could have been the game. That could have been the game. Could have been a momentum killer there when you come up with nothing. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is. You lost some momentum, but you gained it back with, hey, nice job, Ramos. We got a 49-yard field goal, cut it to 2 scores. And then in the second half, LSU's defense getting 3 straight stops, starting with a Missouri missed field goal and then 2 punts right after that. That's where the game was won. That's where the game was won. Also throw in, LSU made bigger plays when they had to. I'm not saying Missouri didn't make any big plays. They did. They obviously did. They almost scored 40 points. They scored 39 points. But late in the game, LSU made big plays like Jaden Daniels. Looked like he took a shot, maybe some bruised ribs, but still picking up plays with his legs, picking up first down, putting his body on the line. And if you're Missouri and LSU has better personnel than you, you're going to have to make big plays late. You have to make more big plays late than LSU. And that's what LSU did. Got a massive road win. Had to have it, especially after losing to Ole Miss the week before. But again, I think Missouri's still a solid squad. It was a little bit disappointed in the defense, especially the run game. But again, offense, thought played well. I mean, really one of Brady Cook's picks was the one that went for 6 to end the game, really, to make it a 10-point game, the pick 6. But other than that, I mean, he had the pick early in the first half to Harold Perkins, who looked really good dropping that coverage there, by the way, one of his better plays. But again, LSU just made plays when they had to. They got a Heisman contender quarterback, 2 losses be damned, willing them to victory. But again, that LSU defense, man, it just does not look like it's going to get any better. It does not look like it's going to get any better. I don't really know when it'll be tested next, though. I mean, they got Auburn this week, Army, bye week, and then in Tuscaloosa, because Alabama shows Jalen Milroe and them are willing to go take a top off a defense of a secondary. They don't think they can play with them like they did with A&M. So we'll see how that goes. But a massive win for LSU. They had to have it. Had to have it, or their season was probably over from any of their real goals heading into the season. That'd been your 3rd loss, 2nd conference loss. But LSU gets the 49-39 win. LSU gets Auburn at home Saturday night this week. Missouri heads on the road to face Kentucky for a big SEC showdown. We'll preview that one a little bit later in the show. But again, LSU getting the 49-39 win. Ole Miss heading to Oxford. Rebels getting the 27-20 win over Arkansas. Arkansas came ready to play. They have in every game this year. But they're 2-4, 0-3 in conference. Close, but close didn't cut it, guys, as we know in this league. I think Lane knew that. It was going to be a little bit of a sloppy game going in. And I said on Thursday's show, I fully anticipated after the emotional win against LSU last week, Ole Miss's offense getting a little stagnant at some point. And they were all game for the most part. I mean, the Ole Miss offense only converted 4 of 13 third down attempts. That's not good. It's not good. But if I'm an Ole Miss fan, if I'm Lane Kiffin, from that side, it's not bad. You're getting to a bye week just in time, getting a little bit healthier before you go make the trip to the Plains next week. Night game. You know Hugh Freeze is going to want that one. But settling into this one, Ole Miss needed to win like this. They showed their defense could get stops. I mean, they were in KJ Jefferson's face all day. Good game plan, I should say all night. Good game plan by Pete Golden in the Ole Miss front. Defense played well and had to carry the offense. So, I mean, Lane Kiffin said it in his post-game on the field interview with Alyssa Lang. But that's what good teams do. Ole Miss is a good team this year. That's what good teams do. They win in a variety of ways. They didn't play great on offense. I said they weren't. Defense carried them. But what do you think now about the Rebs? 2 weeks removed from that tough Alabama loss, get a win against a good LSU team, and then Next week, after an emotional loss, get a big win against Arkansas. That's massive there. But I think in this game specifically, KJ Jefferson's turnovers were the difference. They were in his face all day. Arkansas switched up the offensive line coming out of the half, went back and forth a little bit, but did not protect KJ Jefferson for the most part. I thought tight end Tyrus Washington, who we recruited when I was at UCF, was he from Lee County? Yeah, played really well at tight end. Remember, Arkansas, their freshman tight end who they like a lot, Luke Haas, is out. Got the shoulder injury, broke his clavicle against A&M. Tyrus Washington stepped up, and credit to Danny Enos there. They kept going back to that position. They like to throw to that. I mean, going back to the days they had the tight ends back in 2015, they liked a lot. Hunter Henry and the boys. But defensively, Arkansas, Travis Williams and the Razorback defense, I like their game plan. An aggressive group. Trayon Drefko, the Missouri transfer on the defense line for Arkansas, played really well. But here's something I question Lane Kiffin on, though. Late in the game, he gambled late, deep in his own territory once Arkansas got the lead. They were down 20-17 late. 4th and 1 on his own 34. They put Quinton Judkins in Wildcat. They converted, but I would have punted. I know Lane goes for it a lot. Woo! That could have been the game there. But again, Lane made the call, went with his gut. They got the first down, but I thought that was a little questionable. But Ole Miss needs to continue to get healthy heading into the bye week before 2 very winnable games coming up on their schedule at Auburn, and they host Vandy at home. They need both of them to stay in the SEC West race. And they need to start cheering for whoever plays Alabama each week. They need Alabama to lose twice because they don't have the tiebreaker over Bama. But their next 2 should be winnable. I think that Auburn game at night in 2 weeks is going to be tough. The 6 o'clock ESPN game. Hugh Freeze, he's going to want it. Ole Miss going to want it too. Lane Kiffin ain't going to want to lose to Hugh Freeze. He's not. That'll be an interesting game, but 2 very gettable games for Auburn coming up. Arkansas wraps up their month-long SEC tour. It feels like they've been on the Oregon Trail, man. 4 straight weeks away from home at LSU, Texas A&M in Arlington, at Ole Miss, and then at Alabama this week before getting Mississippi State at home next week before a bye week. Woo! That's why after Arkansas, dude, you got to go home and home in that A&M series. That was a home game for them this year. It'd have been in Fayetteville. They just need to go back to that. A&M wants to do it. They just need to do it. 4. Woo! That's a tour there, man. It's a tour. We'll see how they match up against Alabama. It's 11 a.m. kickoff this week. We'll preview that one a little earlier. But where do the Hogs go from here, man? People are on Sam Pittman. They're on Cody Kennedy, who's like a son to him, who's the offensive line coach. I mean, he's got 2 new coordinators. Danny knows Travis Williams is on defense. We know Danny knows. I said it wasn't a fit. It wasn't a fit to KJ Jefferson's strengths. And you're not running the ball well enough to tell me that was a good hire. You're just not. You're not. But again, I'm going to say this. Who is Arkansas going to go get better? I've heard Jeff Lebby wants the job. He's pushing for it. But is he guaranteed to go do better than what Sam Pittman's doing? I mean, I know they're 2-4. They haven't won a game since week 2, and they're 0-3 in conference. But can anyone truly tell me that you can go get somebody at Arkansas that's overall been better? I mean, they're in every game in the fourth quarter. Could have beat LSU. The A&M game was probably a little closer than the score indicated. And they were up with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter on the road in Oxford this past week. They're in games, man. They just can't finish. They can't finish. I don't think you're going to get anybody better at Arkansas, guys. I just don't. I know you're frustrated. You have things to get frustrated about. But who are you going to go get? It's better. Jeff Lebby, who's never been a head coach before? Okay. But again, where do we go from here? Ole Miss getting rested this week for a trip on the plains next week. Arkansas heads to Tuscaloosa this week. But Ole Miss getting a 27-20 win over Arkansas at home. Wasn't pretty. They got to the bye week, survived the emotional game. Win's a win, man. Georgia gets the 51-13 win over Kentucky. Again, driver's seat game for the Bulldogs in the SEC East. This was a performance everybody had been waiting on all season from Georgia, from the back-to-back champs. Very efficient offensive performance from Mike Bobo, Carson Beck, 28 for 35, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception. The Georgia offense was clicking, man. Brock Bowers, once again, unbelievable. Matchup nightmare, best player in college football. But how does Kentucky's defense lose him? How do they lose 19? If you don't know, that's Brock Bowers' number. How do they consistently lose 19 all day? But Georgia, Mike Bobo and them spread it out. They're getting comfortable, man. They're getting comfortable. Carson Beck anticipates well, does a really good job. I mean, they spread around 5 different guys called touchdown passes. 5 different guys for Georgia. Georgia's defense attacked the run gaps of Kentucky. Unlike Florida, Florida kind of sat back and waited and played passive. Georgia was very aggressive, pinned their ears back and attacked the gaps. Maybe to a fault at times, overran it. Guys like Chaz Chambliss overran it at times. But again, Georgia's not going to go let you attack them. They're going to bring the wood first. They're going to throw the first punch. I said that last week, guys. Kentucky with a running back was not going to be able to just go run with Ray Davis. And Ray Davis is a good player. I thought the offensive line played pretty well against Florida the week before, but a lot of it was Florida just playing soft and missing tackles. If you go back and watch the film, and that's what we do here at Mach 10 Sports. If you go back and watch the film, you knew Georgia would be aggressive. You weren't going to run on Georgia, but people are like, well, I mean, Auburn ran for 218 yards on them the week before. Yeah, that was the quarterbacks, most of that, for 80 yards of that. Or I think more, over 100, between Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford. Devin Leary doesn't have that. And speaking of Devin Leary, he just has not been the same since coming off the surgery this past year from transferring from NC State. Just has not been the same. Just has not been the same. It's very interesting. I mean, Georgia out-schemed Kentucky, too. Kentucky just got flat out coached, but their season's not over, guys. They're 5-1. They got a big home game against Missouri they need this week. And I thought Kentucky's defensive line honestly didn't play bad. Deontay Walker does a great job up front, played really hard again after dominating Florida. Their offensive line just got to Carson Beck just a little, like a second or two late each time. They weren't just totally getting blown off the ball. But Georgia in the driver's seat, feel really good about them playing in Atlanta in early December. Massive win. That was what we were looking for to see. Georgia playing a complete effort on offense. Again, 5 different guys with touchdown receptions. Big 51-13 win over Kentucky. The Dogs head to Nashville this week to place a pondering Vanderbilt team. They should win that game. Kentucky, they want to stay in this SEC East race at all. It's a massive stretch for them to win it at this point. But again, no one really expected that. I have Kentucky finishing second in the East heading into the year. I did. But they need to win this at home. It's a game they need to win at home against Missouri. But again, Georgia getting a massive 51-13 win. Florida get an SEC win, 38-14 win over Vanderbilt. About what we thought on Thursday when we predicted this game. Efficient game for Florida. Florida goes as far as their run games goes, and Montrell Johnson win this week, guys. 28 carries, 135 yards and a score. From a Vanderbilt standpoint, offensive line just continues to struggle. Didn't think Ken Seals played that bad at quarterback. Remember they pulled A.J. Swan. Ken Seals got the start. He wasn't bad. Why are there not more touches to their skill guys? I've said all season, they have to get the ball to guys like Will Shepherd. He's got to touch the ball as much as possible. I don't care if it's in jet sweeps or what. Put him in the backfield. You got to get him to touch the ball as much as possible. Vanderbilt's their best when they're doing that. Massive game, though, for Florida. Going back to Florida here, heading to Columbia this week at Williams-Brice Stadium. Both teams need it. South Carolina needs it. Florida needs it. Everyone needs it out of those two teams. They need it. I think the winner is going to feel really good about themselves leaving that stadium Saturday afternoon. The loser is going to feel like, man, do we have a lot to play for left? Maybe the second most important game of the weekend in the SEC outside of Texas A&M and Tennessee. They both need it too. I mean, we're getting to the point in the season everybody needs it. But, like, those two games specifically, Vanderbilt goes back home to face Georgia. And like I said, Florida heads to Williams-Brice Stadium. But Florida getting a big, pretty predictable 38-14 win over just a reeling Vanderbilt squad. And then finally, remember you had South Carolina, Auburn, and Tennessee on a bye. Mississippi State got the 41-28 win over Western Michigan. Hearing Will Rogers may be out for the season. Something with his left arm. That means Mike Wright, the Vanderbilt transfer, more of a elusive run threat guy than he is a passer. People will look at the 28 points Western Michigan put up on them, like, what the hell's going on? Well, the secondary is what it is for Mississippi State, dude. And one was a contested catch for Western Michigan. Give them credit. But the secondary is going to be a work in progress throughout the year. You're hoping at the end of the year, by the time they play like Kentucky and Ole Miss, Southern Miss at the end of the year, they're starting to get a little bit right. It's never going to be great, but you're just hoping it can improve. I think it can get better. It's going to be a work in progress. But again, like I mentioned, Mike Wright, next man up, obviously a different kind of quarterback. But bye week for Mississippi State coming up before a trip to Fayetteville and a game they need, a game they really need. But again, Mississippi State getting the 41-28 win over Western Michigan. Big news out of that, though. Sounds like Will Rogers, from what I've heard, somebody close to the program, he will be out for the season. Mike Wright, how do they adjust that offense around him? That'll be a big teller. But they got 2 weeks to get it done. But that's the recap from week 2. Heading in, let's talk a little midseason review here. I was going to give you all these teams' grades heading into week 2, or their midseason grades heading into week 7. Starting the SEC West, Alabama 5-1 overall, 3-0. I think an A- grade so far. I mean, people back in after the Texas game would have said a C- or below. But now I think after wins against Ole Miss, Mississippi State and Texas A&M on the road, got to go A-. Trips remaining: Arkansas, Tennessee, bye week, LSU at home, at Kentucky, Chattanooga at home, and then at Auburn. Alabama, again, we've said it all episode, in the driver's seat in the SEC right now. LSU, we're going to the West in order of the standings. Coming in, I think, at a B-, overall coming in 4-2, 3-1 heading into week 7. Next game's up. They got Auburn this week, Army at home, bye week at Alabama, Florida at home, Georgia State at home, and Texas A&M at home at the end of the year. You're going to notice LSU's got a lot of home games on the back end because remember, they've been on the road 4 times already. Their only road game to end the season is at Alabama. So they're not completely out of it. That win against Missouri was massive. They lose that, Bama's probably Han Solo and Highway 1 by themselves in the SEC West race. It's going to come down to that LSU game. It's going to come down to that LSU game in early November in Tuscaloosa, Bryant-Denny Stadium for the West. It is. I'd be shocked if the winner of that doesn't represent the West in Atlanta. But right now, you got to give LSU a B-. Took the loss to Florida State to open up the year and the Ole Miss loss. But again, it's still a lot in front of them to play for there. But Texas A&M coming in next, 4-2, 2-1 in conference. I'll go B- as well. Lost to Miami, that doesn't look like a good loss down. Then took a tough loss to Alabama. But the remaining schedule at Tennessee this week, got to have bye week, South Carolina at home, at Ole Miss, Mississippi State at home, Abilene Christian at home, and at LSU. It all starts this week, man. If they can get a win in Neyland, get to 5-2, go to the bye week, recalibrate, heading into the conference play, or the rest of the conference play heading in. They had a lot of winnable games, but man, do we see them winning all 3 of at Tennessee, at Ole Miss, and LSU? I don't. But I think it's a B- grade right now. Auburn, 3-2 overall, 0-2. I'd give a C- right now. Let's just go C, being Hugh Freeze's first year. They've taken 2 losses to Georgia and Texas A&M. Remaining schedule, they get at LSU this week, Ole Miss at home, Mississippi State at home, at Vandy, at Arkansas, New Mexico State, and Alabama. Auburn, man, just trying to get to 6. You want to get to 6. You want to get to a bowl game. I think they get to 6. I'd be shocked if they didn't win one of those Ole Miss, Mississippi State games. They got to get Vandy. That'd get them to 5. And then New Mexico State to win. Then you never know. Alabama going into Jordan-Hare, always struggle there. Never an easy win. Auburn's defense is going to be loud there. Remember, 2021, the SEC championship team lost the national championship game, struggled against a worse Auburn team. But C- I would say right now for Hugh Freeze, and just because the offense has been a bit underwhelming. But again, what does this Auburn team look like coming off a tremendous effort against Georgia 2 weeks ago? And they've had a week to kind of settle in before they go to Baton Rouge, a place traditionally Auburn has struggled at. That has nothing to do with the 2023 team. I'm just saying out there. But I think Auburn through the midseason, C-. Arkansas, 2-4 overall, 0-3. This is a D- grade. I mean, the loss to BYU, that's tough. They're 3-3, 0-3 in conference. I'm probably a little bit of a D+. It's not good either way. But dropped to BYU, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss. Their 4 losses. Remaining schedule at Alabama this week, Mississippi State at home, bye, at Florida, Auburn at home, FIU, and Missouri. I don't know if I see 6. Yeah, I don't know if I see 6 at all on that schedule right now. I just don't know if I see it. I mean, Alabama lost. Got to get Mississippi State. Probably got to get Auburn, FIU. I mean, maybe. I got to get the Mississippi State game, though, at home. That's a must-win. The Mississippi State game's a must-win just looking at it. Because you lose at Alabama, Mississippi State, that's 6 straight losses going to the bye week. You have a bunch of individual contractors looking out for themselves, especially when they're going home, talking to their uncles, mom and dad, saying, hey, it's not your fault, son. It's the coach's fault. It's not your fault. When bad things happen, people start pointing the fingers. They got to get that Mississippi State win. But right now, I'd give Arkansas a D- sitting at 2-4, 0-3 in the conference. Mississippi State, 3-3, 0-3 in the conference. Going to give them a D- as well in Zach Arnett's first season. They got a bye this week, figuring out how they're going to use Mike Wright at quarterback with Will Rogers out. And they go at Arkansas, at Auburn, Kentucky at home, at Texas A&M, Southern Miss at home, and Ole Miss. For them to get to 6, woo! For them to get to 6. Southern Miss, that's a win. That's 4. have to win at Arkansas. They're going to have to win that. That'd be 5. Then I think they're going to have to get at Auburn or Kentucky. I don't really see them winning at Auburn, though. They probably have to sneak up on Kentucky at home, honestly. But then we get to a bowl game right now. Gun to my head, I'd probably have to say they have to win at Arkansas, beat Kentucky, and then get Southern Miss. That'd be 6. Maybe Ole Miss. Depending on what's going on is there. But right now, I don't see Southern Mississippi State getting to a bowl game. But Zach Arnett's first season through the midterm, got to give it a D-, sitting at 3-3, 0-3. Moving to the SEC East, Georgia sitting at 6-0, 3-0. Got to give them an A right now. Got to give them an A, especially after that complete performance this past week. Upcoming schedule at Vandy, bye week before Florida and Jacksonville, Missouri at home, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee and at Georgia Tech. I don't see Georgia losing a game. I don't. I think they're going to be 12-0, rolling in Atlanta. Looking like they maybe play Alabama right now. It's going to be Alabama or LSU. But right now, I think they're going to end the year probably as a midterm is an A. Can't give them a plus yet. Sitting at A, though. Sitting at 6-0, 3-0. Kentucky coming in 5-1, 2-1 at the midterm point. I'd give them a B. I know it's B. They just got rocked by Georgia. Well, Georgia's better than them. Game probably wasn't as bad as the score indicated, but, remaining schedule, Missouri at home this week. They got to have that one. Bye. Tennessee at home, at Mississippi State, Alabama at home, at South Carolina, and at Louisville. For them to get to 9, you need this one this week. You need to split Missouri, Tennessee, win at Mississippi State, beat South Carolina, beat Louisville. 9 will be tough. That'd be very impressive because Louisville's better. They just beat Notre Dame this past week. They got a tough remaining schedule, man. It's not easy. It's a lot of bowl teams sitting there, really. That's going to be tough for them to get to 9. That's my preseason prediction, but the schedule's a lot tougher. Louisville's better. But I think right now, Mark Stoops and them, they've been inconsistent. But I think a B is a solid play. They need more out of Devin Leary. He just doesn't look the same. But Kentucky comes in with a B at the midterm, 5-1, 2-1 in conference. Florida coming in 4-2, 2-1 at the midterm. That's a C. It's a C at South Carolina with a chance to move up if they win this week. Again, I keep saying that's a must-win for both teams. They get Georgia and Jacksonville, Arkansas at home, at LSU, at Missouri, and Florida State. Florida get to a bowl game. They win this week, they're going to a bowl game, I think. Granted, they don't really have a cupcake left. They don't. They don't have a cupcake left. At South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas at home, at LSU, at Missouri, Florida State. I think the ceiling for Florida right now is probably 6. If they lose this week, 5 wins could be the ceiling. But we're at the midterm. It's the midterm where there's a big quiz after the midterm, and that's this week in Columbia, South Carolina for Florida. And we'll talk about that when we get to South Carolina here too. But right now, midterm, give me Florida C, 4-2, 2-1 in the SEC. Missouri, I'm a B+, sitting at 5-1, 1-1 overall. Like I said, a B+. Remaining schedule at Kentucky this week, South Carolina, bye, at Georgia, Tennessee at home, Florida at home, and at Arkansas. I think so far Drink's done a good job with this team. They could have beat LSU last week. They're sitting at 6-0, tied with Georgia in the SEC East. They're not, but they've done a good job so far. I think they do. I think they're a B+, 5-1, 1-1 team. Tennessee sitting at 4-1 overall, 1-1. They got a big one this week. I think right now I'd give them a B-. Texas A&M at home, got to get. At Alabama is going to be tough. They need to split these next two. Then at Kentucky, UConn at home, at Missouri, Georgia, and Vandy, both at home to end the year. I'd say a B- right now. No real impressive win. Their best win of the season is probably South Carolina at home. I think Virginia's bad to open up the year, but the Florida game still lingers with some. But this is their chance for redemption. We'll talk about that A&M Tennessee game coming up a little bit, but got it. B- for Josh Heupel and his squad right now. South Carolina coming in at 2-3, 1-2 off a bye week. Big one against Florida this week. I think they're a C- right now. I think Shane Beamer and his team's a C- at the midterm. They get Florida at home this week, at Missouri, at Texas A&M, Jacksonville State at home, Vandy at home, Kentucky at home, and then Clemson at home to end the year. Woo! And he starts collecting some wins here. Need to start collecting some wins here, boys. Got to win this week. You got to win this week. Florida, this is a must win. This is the most must win for any team in the SEC this week. Calling it right now. Yep, it's easy. At Florida, this is a win. I think South Carolina actually needs this more than Florida does. It's not far apart, but they need it. But I think Shane Beamer and his team sitting at 2-3, 1-2, C-. Honestly, it's probably a little bit of a favorable grade. But Vanderbilt coming in 2-5, 0-3. It's an F. It's an F. They get Georgia this week, bye week. That'll be their second bye week at Ole Miss. Auburn at home, at South Carolina, and at Tennessee. It's just not a lot. I mean, even when Vanderbilt was stacking the box this week to try to stop Florida's run, they couldn't. The offensive line's poor, couldn't protect. I mean, Vanderbilt just doesn't have a lot of strengths besides their skill guys, and they're not getting them the ball enough. I don't see them winning a conference game. But right now, the midterm at an academic school like Vanderbilt, you're getting an F. Those are the midterm grades for the SEC teams as we head into Week 7. Just wanted to go over that real quick with you. Let's get to the Week 7 SEC power rankings, though. I'm going to pull up the graphic for you. Here we go. No surprise anymore. So leading off, Georgia #1 after their impressive performance right now. I think they're most complete team in the SEC right now. Moving up, Alabama at #2. That's a very impressive win by Alabama. It didn't look great. Still had some issues. 14 penalties. Got out. Can't run the football. Some football instinctual awareness. But Alabama's improving each week. They're improving each week. So that'll be interesting. They're at #2. I still got A&M at 3. Some may argue, I think you could toss A&M, Ole Miss, and LSU all 3, 4, and 5 and make an easy case for them. I really do. I just think Ole Miss, I think Texas A&M is the more complete team right now. I think their defensive line, their front seven, man, Edgerrin Cooper, especially, I should have talked more about him and talking about that. Edgerrin Cooper, their inside linebacker from Ponchatoula, playing incredible right now for them. Him and Deontay Lawson, probably the best 2 linebackers in the league. Got A&M coming at 3. Ole Miss, I just talked about them some. One defensively this week. It's good to see they can win in other ways than just outscoring people. They come in at 4. LSU, giving Ole Miss the head-to-head nod over LSU right now, but I think you could make a case LSU could be 5 and at some point maybe be #2. The offense, easily the best offense in the SEC right now. They don't really have much holes with Logan Diggs. Missouri, Eli Drinkowitz in them, could have won that game. I think they're second in the East right now, coming in at #6. Big opportunity week coming in at #7 for Tennessee, but right now coming off the bye week, #7. Could get a big win at home against Texas A&M. They need it. Kentucky coming in at 8 for me. I want to see a little bit more from them. This week. They need a big win against Missouri at home this week. I think they're at 8. South Carolina, again, need a win more than anyone in the conference this week at #9. #10, Florida. They need it as well. 11th, Arkansas. 12th, Auburn. 13th, Mississippi State. 14th, Vanderbilt. I really don't think there's a lot of argument in this rankings this week. Besides, you could make a case, A&M, Ole Miss, LSU, you could pull those 3 teams out of a hat and come up with a different order of 3 through 5, 3, 4, and 5. I posted this around lunch today. You can go view it on Twitter. I don't really think there's a lot of arguments, though. Who could move up past 6? I really don't see a lot. But there's your Week 7 SEC power rankings. Moving into that. Then let's get into it. The little Week 7, just brief preview. Again, share your screen and the graphic from the SEC, from SECsports.com. Pull it up. Sorry about that. Yep, here's the Week 7 schedule. Pulling it up for you. Here we go. All right, so here's this week's schedule. We went over it last week when they announced it, but just to refresh it, Georgia at Vanderbilt, CBS, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time Zone. I believe right now I've seen Georgia be a favorite about 33.5. Right now in Nashville, it'll be a Georgia home game. It's a CBS doubleheader week. That'll be the first game on CBS. And then also at 11, Arkansas at Alabama on ESPN. That'll go right after College Game Day. Currently, Alabama a 19-point favorite. Could be a sleepy game for Alabama. I just don't know where Arkansas is mentally. They've been on the road so much, a lot of losses. That's starting to mount up, man. It's starting to mount up. I think if Arkansas was playing a little better, could be a bit more of a sleepy game. I probably wouldn't touch this line here. I know we're going to really preview this on Thursday. It's a lot of points coming off an emotional win for Alabama, especially an early game. The early games are usually better for the road teams, I've noticed in my career. They come out a little faster. Teams may be a little sleepier. But Alabama should win this game. I'd be shocked if they didn't. They're going to win this game. Do they cover the 19? I don't know. Just a lot of different variables going into that. 2:30, the main CBS game here. SEC on CBS, Texas A&M at Tennessee on CBS. Another trench matchup here. Tennessee leads the SEC in sacks. Texas A&M gives up a lot of sacks on the offensive line. We saw Alabama beat them up front. Tennessee doesn't do a lot of stunning or games or stuff like that like Alabama does. They do just their one-on-one mano matchups. It's going to be a little different for A&M, but that's going to help A&M, I think. Both teams need it. A&M needs it to avoid their third loss, stay in the SEC West race. Tennessee needs it to avoid their second loss and stay in the SEC East race because they still get Georgia coming to Knoxville in a couple weeks. We'll preview that one more in depth here on Thursday. Again, I said this is the must-win game for out of everybody this week. 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone, Florida at South Carolina on the SEC Network. Both teams need this one. Both teams, probably more so South Carolina. Probably more so South Carolina here because like I'm saying, I'm going to click them real fast for you. They're 2-3, 1-2 in conference with not a lot of easy wins left besides Jacksonville State, who's not a bad squad either. But again, South Carolina needs this one. What Florida team do we see? I mean, Austin Armstrong, defensive coordinator for Florida, he's aggressive. They're going to come after Spencer Rattler. How does that South Carolina offensive line handle that? But both teams need this. One team is going to leave Williams-Brice Stadium feeling really good about their season after this game. One's going to feel like, hey, we don't have a lot to play for. In the 6 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff, Auburn at LSU at Tiger Stadium on ESPN, the ESPN night game. Auburn's got a defense. Hugh Freeze said it today. They're going to have to hold LSU to field goals. Can they? Can they? I don't think it's probably one of the worst offenses LSU has faced so far, and their defense has given up a lot. It's a porous defense. Poor tackling. Guys are playing man when some other guys are playing zone. It didn't improve much. I mean, they essentially got another 40-burger put up on them this past week. Missouri scoring 39. What does Auburn do? They've had 2 weeks to prepare to mix up the offense a little bit. It looks like Hugh Freeze is more involved now. Do we see a little bit more of explosive offense? Does the offense look a little bit more on the same page after the bye week? I think it may. It may. I think it probably does. If I had to say, yeah. LSU better, Matt House and the boys better be ready. Because if Auburn starts putting points up on them, they're in real trouble. They're already in real trouble defensively. Auburn puts up points on you in your house, you're in trouble. So that'll be the ESPN night game, though. Then also the SEC Network, the SEC on with the SEC night game. We get Cole Kubelik, Jordan Rogers, and Tom Hart. This will be their game, and Alyssa Lang. 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Zone kick, Missouri at Kentucky. A big one for both these SEC teams who want to stay in the SEC East race, especially Missouri, who still gets to play Georgia. I mean, Kentucky, after losing to Georgia this past week, they need Georgia to lose 2 games. I don't see that. But Missouri can still control their own destiny. Must win for both teams. So there we have it. Georgia Vanderbilt, first game on CBS. Probably a Georgia home game. Georgia will win this one easily. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time Zone on CBS. Arkansas, Alabama, the morning 11 a.m. ESPN game. Texas A&M at Tennessee on CBS. Currently seeing some lines. Tennessee favored by 3.5 I've seen. Florida at South Carolina. Seen South Carolina be 2.5 point favorite. That game's a 2:30 afternoon game on the SEC Network. Auburn at LSU. I think I saw 11.5 on DraftKings right now. They're giving Auburn for the Saturday night game at Tiger Stadium. And then Missouri at Kentucky. I think I've seen 2.5, 3. We'll get those exact lines on the Thursday preview. Kentucky favored by 2.5, 3 at Kroger Field on Saturday night. But we have covered a ton on this episode of Mach 10 Sports. We covered all the coaching blunders this past week. Mario Cristobal, maybe it'll go down in infamy, as FDR said after Pearl Harbor. It'll go down in infamy. It's one of the worst coaching decisions ever. You kneel the ball, you win the game. We talked about Alabama's late game mismanagement, trying to run out the clock against Texas A&M. Jalen Milroe, someone in the booth got to be saying, hey, we're good. Let's just kneel. And then Eli Drinkwitz going for it on 4th and 35, and he has 3 timeouts. You punt the football there, Eli. We reviewed all 6 SEC Week 6 matchups, went through it all. We gave the midterm grades, letter plus-minus system, reviewed the next schedule, the last remaining 6-7 games for everybody in the SEC. We went over the Week 7 SEC Power Rankings. We reviewed my terrible results from the money-making weekend, 1-6. We're back to below 50%. We're going to be better, guys. We're going to be better. Right when I get off this computer, we're going to start watching film to see who we can go make our money back this weekend. And then finally, we previewed briefly the Week 7 matchups in the SEC. But, guys, man, it's starting to get fun. Every game's starting to matter. Every game's starting to be a must-win. We got some great ones coming up. Can't wait to preview those more in depth for you on Thursday. But I appreciate you joining us on this episode of Mach 10 Sports. You have a fantastic evening.